a couple, that's fine. So anyways, how's everybody doing with that? Doing okay? Yeah, no? Oh, okay, need some tips and tricks and things? Okay, well, hopefully I'll be able to give you some new ideas, maybe some things we might have considered. But really, the whole process of losing weight, eating right, I mean, essentially it is easy and it isn't. I mean, how to do it is, but anyways, we'll go ahead and continue. Okay, so where should I start? Maybe some of you are thinking, I don't know, I've tried this and that. I just don't know, maybe I'm not doing the right things. Well, essentially what we need to make sure we're doing is eating at least 3 meals a day. Never want to skip a meal. So you want to make sure you get up in the morning and get something to eat, even if it's just a bowl of cereal, right? Another thing is, you know, even 1 or 2 snacks throughout the day. That just helps keep your metabolism going. Another thing to also help you as well is to track your food as well as your activity. That just kind of lets you know what you're doing day to day. That way, maybe if you're getting a plateau or you're just not sure why you're not losing, you can go back and review and kind of understand, maybe say, I see where maybe I made a mistake here. Maybe it wasn't enough that you ate that day, maybe it was too much, or maybe you had one too many snacks. So anyway, so tracking is definitely a good way to go. You can do everything from using a Fitbit, which I see a couple have, so that's a great way to go. Or you can just use an app like MyFitnessPal. Another thing is just simply paying attention to portion sizes. You know, sometimes counting calories can be a little bit tedious, but if you just kind of think about your portion sizes, maybe just calculate, that's really going to be a great help for you. Especially too, maybe you go out to eat, take half of it home. Don't sit there and eat the whole thing. Some questions? All right, so another thing is just to make sure you're eating a good variety of foods from all food groups. So we want to focus on lean proteins, things, fish, eggs, all those things that we all kind of familiar with. Definitely whole fruits and whole vegetables. Not only are you getting the nutrients from it, but you're also getting that good fiber. That is also going to help you keep you full as well as help you lose weight. Another thing to monitor is the starch in vegetables. So kind of treat that like you would bread, pasta, things like that. They're good for you, but just another thing is I believe in not eating artificial sweeteners. If you are going to have something sweet, go ahead and have the real thing. Just not a lot of it. The thing with the artificial sweeteners is it tends to make you want to eat more. It's kind of the nutshell version. If you would like me to elaborate on that, I'll do that later on so we don't have a lot of time today. Another thing is to just avoid the temptations of junk foods and sodas. Just don't buy it. Keep it out of the house. Just don't do it. Don't spend your money on it. You know, the money that you are going to spend on that 44-ounce Coke at the gas station, don't do it. Save that. You know, by the end of the week, you might have just money for what else? Something else maybe. You know, maybe a movie. So another thing, again, just with like junk foods and temptations, maybe just avoid eating out. You know, at least cooking at home, you know what you're putting into it. Yeah. You eat out, you have no idea what they're doing to it. You might say healthy, you might say, you know, no fat, but you don't know that for sure, right? So again, and you also save your money, right? Any questions? Okay, another thing is, a big thing, is to find that support. And that's the one thing that's really good about this type of challenges. If you're on a 2 to 5, you all should be supporting each other, right? That as well as, you know, family and friends as well. You know, you're not alone in this. If they know what you're doing, you're going to stick with it. They're going to expect to see results. So that just all in kind of helps keep you accountable. Another thing is to get plenty of physical activity. Yes, diet is a big thing, and that's my main topic, but definitely you have to have a physical activity with that. So, you know, around here, you know, you can walk, you've got stairs, might take the elevator. That's just going to get you week, say Sunday or Wednesday, prepare your meals for the week. If you've got something in the fridge that's already made and prepared, you're going to be more likely to eat that versus just grabbing whatever you see first. I know that takes a lot of time, but hey, if you spend, an hour or two in one night, you've already got your meals set up and pre-portioned out, you're ready to go for the rest of the week. And then another thing is just, thinking and realizing the difference between, are you actually hungry? Is this mealtime? Or am I seeing this piece of cake right here I want? That's head hunger. You're not really hungry. If you're really hungry, anything's going to satisfy your hunger, right? Real food, vegetables, piece of fruit, that's going to take care of that. So just kind of realizing that, and it's really going to help you monitor what you eat. Questions? All right, everybody's just kind of giving me these deer in the headlight kind of look. So, all right. Okay. Another big thing is water. Is everybody drinking at least 64 ounces a day? Yes? No? Maybe? Try? That's, if you're getting around 48 to 64 ounces in a day, you're doing pretty good. So definitely, you can put lemon juice in there, put cucumber, berries, whatever you want. Put something in there, just as long as it's not those artificial squeeze things or packets. You want to stay away from that. You want to keep it natural. That's the best way to do it. Okay, so kind of covered all the basics. So now it's like, okay, I know all of this. I'm good at that. I just don't know, how do I stay on track with this? Maybe I'm good one day, the next day, it's just, too busy, didn't plan. Things happen. Understand that, but that's okay. Next day is a new day. Okay? So basically, it's just, making it a routine and just making sure you stick with it. Okay, so to achieve your weight loss goal, you really have to make a commitment and make it a lifestyle change. So how do I successfully lose weight and keep it off? So just because it's the weekend doesn't mean it gives you the right to get off track, right? You want to make sure and stay on track with what you're doing for the week. So whatever you're going to decide to do, you want to stick with it. You say, I'm not drinking any soda. Well, don't have that soda on a Saturday or with your meal when you go out. Don't order it. Another thing is combine family time with exercise. Instead of going to a movie or sitting down watching a TV show at home, get your kids up, get your husband up, get, whatever it is, go outside. It's still nice now. Or if it's not, you can take them bowling. That's not as active, but at least you're not sitting down on your bed, right? So another thing to kind of keep you good on the weekends is to make Monday morning your weigh-in time. If you know that's coming around, you're going to want to stay good on the weekends, right? All right, and then another thing is find some way to motivate yourself, whatever it is, whether it's an inspirational book, if you've got somebody that they've been through struggles and they're sticking with it, and maybe you can look up to them, and maybe have a picture of them or have their story up. And maybe you write inspirational quotes on the mirror. Maybe you've got sticky notes of different things to remind you. Maybe you've got a trip planned next year that you want to be in shape for. Whatever it is, find something that's going to motivate you. And then let that where you're always going to see it. All right, so the people that are successful keeping weight off, what is it that they're doing that everybody else isn't? So kind of have the secrets of 5% is what they say. They say about 5% of people who lose weight can actually keep it off. So what is it that they do? So one, they make it public, right? So how many, those of you on the team, you all know that your team's posted out there. We know you're doing it. The hospital knows. Not per se like names, but just by writing down or announcing your goals automatically increases your chance of success. So again, going back to that tracking and journaling. So those of you, know that we say track your weight weekly now, like those of you on the team, that's kind of how we keep you accountable. So another thing is they pay attention to what they're doing. They're doing all of this on purpose. They're sticking with their plan, their routine, everything they do has a purpose and a reason. They plan it, they track it, they read menus, ask questions. They follow their own progress. Again, that's the whole point of tracking it. Not, you write it down and forget about it. It's for you to go back and review. Another thing is it also helps to prevent setbacks, right? So if you know kind of what you've been doing, you're going to stay on track with it. So you don't want to, end up gaining weight at the end of the week if you're not tracking. And then another thing is just looking for various opportunities to stay active. So that's kind of what we try to do along with these lunch and learns. We always have some kind of a challenge. We're trying to come up with more that are kind of active for you. Again, just look online. See what's going on here in Franklin. The Parks and Rec, they always have something going on. I know. Just getting a little bit. Another thing is they enjoy themselves. So I know the whole thing of riding and exercise, doesn't sound fun. Well, find a way to make it fun. Find a way that you can enjoy it. So, that's the reason why these individuals are able to keep it off, is they've made it fun for themselves. And they make it a positive experience. Okay, don't kick yourself if maybe you've gotten off track. It's okay. It's all right. Again, tomorrow's a new day. They feel good about their goals themselves and what they've accomplished so far. And just really to being optimistic, of course we all are going to know, if you're optimistic, you're going to tend to be a little more successful and live longer as well. Anyways, as far as changes, they make gradual changes. I'm sure you've already remembered, like baby steps. Baby steps are perfect. That's what's going to help you to create that new routine. If you try to change something, completely and go big, a lot of times you're going to fail because it's too big to change all at once. Another thing is essentially too much too soon. Again, something like not learning language. Maybe I don't know if you can do that, but again, that's not fun doing it that way either. So another thing is, again, with the whole thing of getting off track. If you do, that's okay. If you fail, that's okay. It happens. Nobody's perfect. And we understand that. So it's expected. Just get up and try again. Everybody's failed at some point. I don't know who anybody else can. People that are way successful, they've had more failures than successes. They kept trying. They stuck with it. So again, when they say every failure is one step closer to success. So maybe you found out this doesn't work for you. So quit doing this. Let's try something else. All right. So with this outlook, they keep their failures from turning into disasters, and they just work on moving forward. That's what you got to do. All right. So feeling, discouraged, you need a plateau. I understand that makes you want to just say, forget it, I'm just going to eat what I want, right? You don't want to do that. So basically, hitting a plateau just means your body's getting used to what you're doing. And in a way, that's kind of a good thing, because you've already made yourself better at that point. So that just means that what we need to do is change up either exercise, maybe we need to decrease the calories, maybe we need to increase the calories, maybe you're eating more because you're burning more. Who knows? Again, that's where you come ask us and we'll do our best to help you with that. And essentially, just trusting in the process. That's the big thing. Sticking with it and trust in it. It's not going to all come off all at once. So we said 1 to 2 pounds a week. You're doing really good. So with that, does anybody have any questions?
you talk to. I say Houlihan, my husband says Houlihan, so it kind of depends. So thank you all for coming today, as well as thanking Amanda and Eileen for giving me this extraordinary opportunity to speak in front of all of you. But my name is Mary Houlihan. Like we said, and I'm a registered yoga teacher with a background in the application of therapeutic yoga. And I am a talker, so I need to stay on task so that I don't keep you guys from getting back to work on time. So we're just going to start with your packets. So on top, I have a business card and then a pamphlet. And the business card is just, I want to be your yoga resource. I'm really committed to the South Side. I've worked downtown for several years, and I kept becoming frustrated with the little options that we had on the South Side as far as yoga, mindfulness, and meditation. There wasn't a lot. It's growing, which is all aces. But for you guys, I would really love to be your resource. If you have any questions about yoga, maybe interested in getting started, maybe you have some physical impairments or injuries, or something that may be restricting you from coming into a normal class, maybe you feel a little intimidated and want to have a private session, just give me a call and we can work that out. We can get that scheduled. And if there's an event, if you're part of an organization and would like a yoga teacher for a special event, you can contact me for stuff like that. Or a family yoga, kids yoga, birthdays, weddings, whatever. You can really incorporate yoga into anything, really. Okay. So you have my contact information, and then I have kind of a breakdown a little bit more about my business and kind of my mission and philosophy. And then on from there, you have a flyer for the Thursday night class that we currently are offering here for the Johnson Memorial community and the Franklin kind of Johnson County community at large. So we kind of started out just opening it up to staff, and we wanted to see how the reception was. We didn't want to take away and offer it out to the community and have community kind of coming in and filling the space before you guys could even get there. So we opened it up to the staff, and we got a warm reception, but we haven't really got this real strong embrace. All right, so now we're opening it up to the community. So it's still open to staff, but if you have patients, if you have friends, if you have family that are interested, feel free to pass this along, okay? So share, keep it your cubicle or your space here at work, just to remind you that is an option for you. And if you want more options, these are things that we kind of have to get behind to get that ball rolling so that we have this option as well as presented with other options in the future. Okay, so I have, we're going to go right into the exercise. So you guys should have a piece of paper that has questions on it. Go ahead and flip that over so you have the blank side. And so we all have a box of raisins in front of us. We're pretty familiar. And I know I've already heard some people saying they have an aversion to eating raisins, whether because of their diet or just preferences. I totally understand. So, but you can still take part in this to a point, this exercise. But just when we get to the point where we're actually consuming it, just stop. Good. You didn't eat them all yet, did you?
Yep, I did.
Okay.
That's all right.
I've got extras too.
I didn't have lunch. No, that's okay. I don't need more.
Well,
You need two, she said, Deb. You needed two of them for the activity.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
All right. So, with the back side, just go ahead and open the box, and I would like for you to just draw one raisin out and experience this raisin like you would any other day of the week, right? And whatever you notice while you experience it, go ahead and write down those observations. What you notice about this raisin. And if you're not consuming it, what else do you notice about it, right? So obviously you can't speak to the taste of it because you're not tasting it, but what other things can you notice about the raisin? Yeah, if you don't want to eat it. Yeah, yeah. Sorry, I'm supposed to be timing myself so I don't go over. I apologize. So it's $5 for a drop-in class, but if you buy a class pass, it brings it down to $4 per class. Yeah. Yeah, and I have some of those class passes with me if you're interested in purchasing one. Okay. Not at this moment. All right. So has everybody had a chance to write what they've noticed? Okay. Now let's go ahead and flip those papers back over so you can see. This is all confidential unless, of course, you do want to share something. You are being recorded, so no pressure. So let's go ahead and we're going to kind of continue the second part of this exercise. And we're going to begin to develop this beginner's mind. And a beginner's mind is basically coming into an experience as though we've never experienced it before. And if you can think back to when, okay, you can't think back because, I mean, you can recall when they were 1 or 2 years old, right? I can't. But maybe we've been able to witness a child kind of learning to walk for the first time and how fully absorbed they are in that moment, that we kind of take it for granted because as we do things over time, no, you're okay, it becomes mindless and we kind of go into autopilot where you just do it without even thinking. And if you can think of like brushing your teeth or washing your hair, you just kind of automatically do it. And so what we're trying to come into is this, we talked about attention and paying attention with some of the points that Amanda had made previously. And so this is really developing that ability to pay attention and to kind of slow things down. So if everybody can, please go ahead and put your feet flat on the floor, kind of scoot to the front of your chair and get this nice tall spine, this like alert position. All right, so we're taking the posture of a beginner, kind of like we're taking a seat at a desk in a class when we're in school, kind of this ready to absorb whatever has to be offered. And let's go ahead and close our eyes for a moment. And we're kind of resetting ourselves to come into this experience as though we've never experienced or seen this object in front of us before. So we'll examine this yet to be named object for the first time. So when you're ready, go ahead and open your eyes. And if you have a raisin out of the box, then we'll use this raisin. If you ate the last one, then go ahead and grab a new raisin. Go ahead and place it on your paper. So looking at this object, erasing all labels, all names, and notice what you see. What do you notice about this object? Go ahead and record what you notice. Very good. Now allow yourself to touch this object. Maybe allow each finger, maybe the palm of your hand, the back of your hand, and notice how it feels, and record whatever you notice. Now allow yourself to smell. So holding in the palm of your hand or keeping on the piece of paper, whatever you prefer. Allow yourself to draw in the aroma. And then whatever comes to mind, so maybe you liken it to the smell of something else. Maybe it reminds you of a time, a place, a person. And take note of anything that arises, anything you notice, any thoughts, any feelings. Now allow yourself to listen to this object, which may seem obtuse and awkward, right? That maybe it's more of the ambient sound and how the ambient sound reflects or is absorbed. And then allow yourself to place the object back down on the paper and allow yourself to manipulate it by rolling it under the finger, kind of across the table, and noticing if now it makes a sound. You may have to fine-tune your ears. And go ahead and record whatever you notice. yourself to hold this object between your finger and your thumb. And as you hold it, imagine placing it in your mouth. Without placing it in your mouth, just imagining, and notice what arises. Maybe noticing urges, sensations within the mouth, and recording all that rises. Now I invite you to bring this object to your lips without placing it in the mouth. And just notice the way it feels upon the lips and whether it feels any different than the way it felt between the fingers, and in what ways. Go ahead and place it on the tongue without biting or chewing. Just allow it to sit on the tongue. Maybe even rolling around from side to side, and notice the difference here from on the lips and between the fingers. Recording any sensation or observation. Yourself to take a single bite, and what do you notice? Maybe noticing a release of now flavor and how that experience may influence your thoughts or emotions. And then once you record what arises here, allow yourself to begin to slowly chew the object. And perhaps you notice an urge to swallow, but don't. It's just an urge. And you don't have to give in to every urge that arises. And continue chewing until there's nothing left of the object, and even paying close attention to how the tongue and cheek need to articulate this object so that the bites land between the teeth. And when you're ready, and when you decide, go ahead and swallow. And notice as you swallow that you are exactly one raisin heavier. So take a moment to reflect on the experience, recording what that experience was like for you, and maybe what you learned or didn't learn, or how you felt. And just as a simple observation, is there anybody that wants to share what they experienced?
I realize I don't like that. I mean, I really don't like raisins. But
Yeah.
and I'm like, why am I eating?
Yeah.
Why am I eating these? I don't. They're sticky. They're yucky. They get stuck in the carpet. My boys put in my nose. They look like earwax.
And that's okay.
And I'm like, why am I eating these sometimes?
But you become even more aware of a preference that you have. So it becomes less mindless, right? We are really aware of the emotion that we have tied to this little simple raisin. Is there any other comments that we have? No?
I want to know whose idea it was to let grapes go like this. It might as well be wine at this point.
Yeah. So if you know, just a quick observation about how, if we compare one side of that paper to the other, how much fuller the one side is, and maybe more descriptive. So the experience has become a little bit more complete, right? And so I want to take this and reinforce it with a few of the points that bring us to this infograph, the lady in this mermaid pose, that says, right size yourself. what the yoga to weight loss chain reaction looks like. So first it says you do yoga, congratulations. And I think it's funny how they make it seem so simple, because often the journey to dedicate that time to supporting your weight management or weight loss goals is the hardest part. That's the most difficult part, right? And that's the first part. You know, if you can't get over that, then how are you ever gonna meet your goal, right? So kudos to you all for showing up here today and watching those, for those of you that watch the video later. Because this is the hardest part, and it's not to be underestimated or devalued, right? And just like it takes courage to set aside that time in your day, it also takes courage to step into a yoga class or schedule a yoga class for yourself. Congratulations to you all. So when we practice yoga, and what we just did, this mindfulness exercise, is yoga. Yoga is what's bringing us into the present moment and helping us develop this awareness, this mindfulness. So this was yoga. And even though we didn't know it, we just did yoga, maybe for the first time. But when we practice yoga, we stress less, right? So we start to dial down that sympathetic nervous system, that fight, flight, or freeze response that we have. And our brains don't know the difference between a perceived threat, and an actual threat. And so a lot of us are living in a state of this threat or this stress constantly, right? And for those of us that don't get good sleep, almost nonstop. And so, but when we can dial this sympathetic nervous system down, our stress levels go down, which means our cravings go down, right? Those kind of pathways that we create to kind of cope with stress become less and less important, or less and less needed, right? And so when we're kind of moving, we're craving less, you know, we're not reaching for those things that send us further out of balance. We start to come more into center, more in line with our emotions, our thoughts, our bodies, and our cortisol levels, so our hormones start to balance. And so cortisol is that pesky hormone, which is needed, but can become out of balance when stress levels are high. And that's, instead of having a nice even layer of fat throughout the body, we start to get these targeted areas, these pockets of concentrated fat. And this is what cortisol does to us, but this is just kind of a byproduct of stress, right? And so cortisol levels go down, and when we're in the present moment, when we're mindful, we're not getting kind of dragged back into the past and becoming depressed and regretful of maybe decisions or things we've done in the past. And we're not getting kind of thrust into the future where we can find ourselves anxious and worried, right? Then when you're in the present moment, you really don't have space for everything else. You're really absorbed in the present moment and aware of what's going on around you. And so then when we're not getting depressed, we're feeling better and we're moving more. And this is when we start to project ourselves even further in that direction of a healthy life and making those kind of more permanent lifestyle and behavior changes, right, that are needed to have a successful weight management kind of goal and process, right? So when we're not feeling depressed, we're moving more, and in that turn, we're also getting better sleep, right? Because we're kind of getting a lot of that cooped up energy out through exercise, but we're also mindful and we're less anxious, and so we're not laying awake at night with all these things kind of flooding in on us. We're more capable of being able to acknowledge these emotions and then regulate and kind of come on the other end of that. So then we're getting better sleep, which then promotes people who slow down and pay attention to how their food tastes and smells tend to weigh less and struggle with fewer food cravings than those who don't, which brings us back to our mindful eating exercise that we just went through. And so really what we're trying to promote in yoga is strengthening this mindfulness or this awareness, then it starts to begin to flow into other aspects of our lives. So in yoga, we're creating this safe space for us to start to develop it there, and then it expands out so that when we're going through the grocery store and we're more mindful of what we're placing in our cart, so that when we get home, we're not like, oh my gosh, how do I make a healthy meal out of Cheetos and sour cream? You know, instead you're like, you've got all these choices for you, so that when you are hungry, you're grabbing healthier food options. When you're snacking, you're grabbing healthier food options. As well as just strengthening your awareness of whether you even are hungry or whether it's just boredom or emotional eating or something like that. So, which brings you to, you lose weight and keep it off. And that's one of the main things is, even on these shows, Biggest Loser and stuff like that, people are dropping weight, but then they say 6 months after they've gained it all back and then some. So it's really about supporting yourself that you can manage it throughout your life, and it becomes a lifestyle. And that's really what yoga is. It's a practice. It's a lifestyle philosophy. Okay. Does anybody have any questions? Excellent. Great. All right. Thank you guys so much for your time. I really appreciate it. If you want to hear more from me, speak to Amanda and Eileen, and they'll help coordinate it. Thank you guys.